Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blackshirt Breakdown. My name is Steve Marik. I'm a staff writer at Inside Nebraska, and he is the Jay Foreman, our NFL veteran and former Nebraska Blackshirt. Jay, we are back once again to break down another Husker recruit. This one is not coming in the 2024 class. However, this is a 2025 guy with Tyson Terry, a three-star defensive line, offensive line of scrimmage athlete we got coming into Nebraska out of Omaha North High School. So Jay, obviously Tyson Terry, I think he's a name that a lot of people have known for a while around these parts. Everybody knows the wrestling background with Tyson. He's 92-0. He has not lost a high school heavyweight match. He was the first Nebraska freshman ever to win a state heavyweight championship. Well, I guess I should say since 1971, and he was the first freshman to win a heavyweight state championship in Class A. So Jay, obviously Tyson Terry, he's a name. I don't know what the last year or the previous coaching staff at Nebraska. I don't know that there was a ton of interest there, but with Matt Rhule and company, I think they kind of lit the fire back with Tyson Terry, and they wanted him to be a Husker.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's been known, even all the way back to eighth grade. I knew about him. Him coming into high school, big kid, big athletic kid.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously really good at wrestling, which is some of your best defensive linemen, both in college and the pros through the history of and offensive linemen, as well they do have wrestling backgrounds, and so for him to be dominant, it really tells me he has a sense of excellence. But then, I don't know what the recruiting process was or the situation was with the previous staff. But when you watched him play from a freshman and last year as a sophomore, he's a Power 5 kid. He had numerous offers, and he was starting to really pick up because, he's a legit 6'4" when you stand next to him. From wrestling, he'll flex, you go anywhere from 270 to 80 or maybe 85. So, but he doesn't look at as a bad 270 or sometimes up to 80. He's athletic, he's strong, he plays with good leverage, and he has really good body control. So what it tells me as a wrestler, that he doesn't have to be like what the other staff liked was, guys coming in at 290 and next thing you know they're 320, whereas he knows how to play with leverage. When we get into the highlights, you see that he knows how to contort his body and split a double team, and he plays with excellent strength. Now, he's a strong kid in the weight room. But one thing that I always look for a high school kid, in particular, offensive lineman and defensive lineman, and then some edge guys as well, does he play to his weight room strength? Does he have football strength? And that's one thing that he has is football strength. He has, I guess I'm going to say under the radar quickness. I think his quickness will get better when he can solely concentrate on football. Because what people don't understand is that when he's a excellent in a probably a Power 5 Division I wrestler as well, that he's training for football, but then also, doing kind of an AAU circuit on wrestling as well. So once he can kind of hone in on what's he going to do at the next level and that put that, in the forefront, you're going to see him really jump off. But his highlights will show you 3 different things that he can do in any defensive scheme. And you see a lot of guys that are successful in the Big Ten doing some of the things that he's doing. And so he has 2 more years to improve and, come into college ready to play. And he's only going to get stronger. He's only a sophomore, and he's a big old kid built like a senior, very mature kid as well. So that lets you know his transition will be a little bit faster, all things considered, than anybody else.
Yeah, and I want to say again with these Blackshirt breakdowns, Jay, that we're usually doing. This is junior year tape that we're usually doing, but with Tyson Terry, this is his sophomore year. He started since he was a freshman at Omaha North, and his first 2 seasons, the combined stats were 139 tackles, 23 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks already in 2 years at Omaha North. So this kid can play. He's big, he's strong, and like you said, and like we said, we in this last clip that we're going to show, he can move too. And I think the pursuit with him is something to really like as well. So yeah, let's get into these highlights right now, Jay. And the first one, obviously, I wanted to pick this one because it's the power, it's the strength that shows him getting through a double team fairly easily, and that's a lot to like. There's a lot to like right here.
Yeah, well, first of all, you see he's into playing on an edge there, and the biggest thing that jumps off is you talked about the leverage and the strength, but I'm more focused on the get off, right? the get off when he gets off the ball, look how he doesn't change his leverage, which leads to him to be able to split a double team. He literally suplexed or ejected, that little guard number 77, across the line of scrimmage. But the get off, right? Look at the get off, no wasted steps, good leverage. And how do you defeat a double team? It's almost like they say, like, look, if you ever get jumped in a fight, pick one guy, beat the crap out of him, and then move on to the next. And that's exactly what he did. Now, he's a product of being well coached in high school. But being well coached and executing at a young age is two different things. And for him, look at that get off right there, right? No wasted step. It's a kind of a little bit of a long step that goes into a short step to be able to get your power back underneath your pads. That's good That's good technique, good coaching, and good execution. Splitting the double team and then getting the tackle for loss. And it's not just the sacks, right? Everybody's like, oh, we need Aaron Donald stats as a defensive tackle, or defensive lineman. And so he's averaging about 5 sacks, a year, when everybody knows who he is and everybody's game planning for him. The 23 tackles for loss is what I really focus on. Yeah. You are resetting the line of scrimmage and you're making plays behind the line of scrimmage. And that right there, the first highlight, shows you all 2 or 3 things that I just focused on from a defensive lineman perspective and what should have the coaches excited.
Jay, look at his left arm here. I mean, when he he gets past 77 and 52 is trying to hold on, but Tyson Terry raises that left arm right there. Right. Is he taught to do that? Is that a technique?
Yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
It is. You actually kind of ricochet off of 77, lean back into the right tackle, raise it. So now you're actually resetting your leverage again.
That's good.
Right. And he's able to run the hoop. And, I'm assuming they do a lot of these in their defensive line drills, which allows him to play with good leverage and to turn the corner right there and get in on the sack. So look, when, if you're talking about a high school teaching tape for a sophomore going against sometimes seniors and, pretty well coached teams, this is it right here. It's the get off. It's the explosiveness. It's the power. Okay. It's the tenacity. It's also being able to do all those things that we're just talking about with the focus on the quarterback, and then also play with leverage. And then the biggest part is make the play. And it's just it's a really good play. That's nothing sexy, but it is sexy if you're really breaking down a player. As far as a defensive lineman tackle, and he was at a defensive end position. But this one right here, I like right here, right? Where this is the second highlight. Now he's more of in like a 4-eye technique, so more of a kind of an old school Nebraska or last year's staff 4-eye. Right, look at the get off again. Right, look at the get off and the hand activity. See the get off right there. He's beating everybody to the punch. Right, he's playing with good leverage. He's underneath the pads, as you see that purple helmet underneath the white helmet. A little side swipe right there, one hand swipe to again double the action, and then he gets a hit on the quarterback. So when I'm talking or looking about a defensive lineman in a prospect, first of all, I've said it 10 times over. I'm looking at get off, foot quickness, not a long strider, and leverage. All that right there, get them off of them. And then I like that you get hits on the quarterback. So everybody focuses on sacks. I like guys that punish the quarterback. I like guys that punish guys on offense. And that's what he's doing right now as a defensive tackle or a defensive end, kind of a 3-man front. And so this also lets you know at 270 plus pounds, he has position flexibility. This is a natural weight for him. Okay. This isn't a weight where he's, eating 4 Whoppers with cheese to try to be heavy and he's not moving well. This is a sophomore playing against seniors at a weight that he is being pretty dominant at, and along with the technique. And so, we're moving into this third highlight right here, which is showing that, the biggest thing, and they say is, is he 6'4", 270? Can he run?
Dang.
Now, again, really right here is the get off, right? Watch the get off, play recognition, right? Different moves, right? Swim technique, and gets flat down that line. See, what you look for in a defensive lineman is, do you get flat down the line and not rounded? So when that running back by chance cuts back, this is where you get the forced fumbles. This is where you get the big hits. This is where you get a defensive lineman making a play, say 2 or 3 yards down the field, that stops a 20 or 30-yard gain. So first of all, it's the get off, right? And the good foot quickness. Then he reads it, right? Right. So this is, again, he's doing his job, and then he's being a football player. And, really, to be honest with you, Steve, he could set the edge right there without having to get outside of the tackle or the pulling guard in this case, and look at him get down the line. You got inside pursuit by another defender, and then you got good secondary force or setting the edge by the corner that makes the play. But the play was made by Tyson Terry right here. Watch the get off. Get off. Got the head ducker, or I call them head duckers as far as a guy with the head down. Swims him. That means he's playing with his eyes up, right? He's not a defensive lineman looking at the grass and just trying to go forward and getting to a pushing contest against these guys. He's got his eyes up, reading the shoulders of the offensive tackle, right? Swims him, right? Probably beat him up physically early in the game. So he has some tools in his toolbox and more things to do besides power. He's showing quickness right here, get down the line of scrimmage. He gets some hands on the puller. So now you're saying, now I'm looking at it, he's making another football play, right? Do his job, get a little bit of burp on the puller. So the puller's, he didn't do anything. He's just running around aimlessly. He's knocked off his pattern. So he destroyed this whole play without getting into the stat sheet.
Yeah.
Look at it right there. Again, swim technique, good leverage, sinks his hips, just a two-hand chuck on the puller, which actually allows him to ricochet and get down the line. Look at that right there, right? This kid, let's just forget all the size and the wrestling background and all this other stuff. That's already what you see on tape. What this shows me in these 3 highlights right here, and I know it's 3 highlights, but this last play shows me he's a football player. It shows me that he watches football tape. It shows me he doesn't watch YouTube highlights. He sees things to be effective in the game without getting a stat sheet. This is good coaching, but then also it's good execution by him. Again, this play right here, what he does on this pulling guard is more impressive than him getting down the line of scrimmage and being 270 pounds, 75 pounds. Getting down the line of scrimmage is pretty dang impressive. On top of it, the cherry on top is the first 2 highlights were at left defensive end. This highlight is at right defensive end. So it shows me that he can play both sides of the line of scrimmage and play with his hand in the ground on one side, because when you have your hand, either your right hand down when you're on the left and then your left hand down when you're on the right. So it lets me know he has flexibility to play both sides. So again, if he becomes a pretty successful player, right, or somebody that you need to play, right defensive end or left defensive end, whether it's nickel, dime, whatever type of patches, 3-3-5 front, he can play both sides. And so when you're a younger player coming into a program, Jason Peter will tell you, and he'll tell you one of the first things that defensive linemen struggle with is being able to play on both sides of the ball, the right and left sides, because you might be primarily a right defensive end in high school or a left defensive end in high school or JUCO or wherever you come from. Learning how to play both sides and having the ability to be effective on both sides is something that can, delay your progress. And so with him, it's showing you that there is no difference on how he plays right or left side. And so the defensive line coach, Terrence Knighton, and the defense coordinator, Tony White, and of course, Matt Rhule and company should be pretty excited about getting him in the 2025 class. Really, to be honest with you, Steve, I might be trying to put a little bug in his ear, send a little pigeon up there and say, hey, man, get your school right, see if we can get you to reclassify and get you in here a little bit early because we need some defensive line help. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm joking. But again, 2025, that means you're trying to add to the cupboard and trying to have guys ready and being able to reload year after year. And so they're trying to build a program, offensive, defensive line, and I think he's a good get.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to ask, pick your brain about before we get out of here was we talked about the position versatility. You talked about him playing both sides of the line, and it looked like a defensive end in Omaha North's defensive system. So just, I know it's the D-line. I know he's projected as a D-line, but what about the offensive line? Does he look maybe like a guard or a center to you potentially? Like what are your thoughts on Tyson Terry potentially as the offensive lineman?
Well, just right now, just because he's played in the interior defensive line, you can see him playing center or guard. And the quickness, the leverage is in the foot, in the ability to play and the ability to run. He would project right in there, and he would be able to move people. And so, again, that's another check in the positive thing for him. For him, showing up in 2025, say he only stays at a 3.5, 4-star ranking. He's actually a 5-star guy because you have 2 players in one. And it's like the big man that we got this year out of South Dakota, where, we saw him as an offensive lineman. He starts at now the defensive lineman. You can always move him back. Same thing with Tyson Terry. And, he's athletic enough that he could play tackle. I don't know his arm length and stuff like that. I've never seen him kick step. What I've seen him do on the defensive line is do all the things that I scouted as a linebacker, whether offensive lineman, guard, or center would be successful. And that's quickness, that's leverage, and that's tenacity, and he does all that.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Tyson Terry, Omaha North, the 3-star defensive line commit in the 2025 class, the second one, along with Caden Vermaz out of Millard North High School. So that was a Blackshirt breakdown. Tyson Terry, that was Jay Foreman. I am Steve Mark, and we will be back for another Blackshirt breakdown whenever the Huskers snag another one. Catch you guys later.